Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to be along with you. I want to issue a warning as Pete Hegseth meets with Department of Defense higher-ups, as we get all of the advisors that are tuned in to the goings-on around the globe. I want to warn Pete Hegseth, I want to warn my fellow Americans that there is a growing push to try and move the United States and its European allies towards war with Russia. I do not believe Russia wants war with us. I really don't. Not only because Vladimir Putin actually said this. Just this week, he came out and he gave a message to both the United States and Europe saying, I am not your enemy. He said, I'm not even your adversary. I am your friend. Now, maybe he's saying that because he sees this escalation of tensions that's being driven by the corporate media, by war hawks in Washington and the European Union, the administrative state, and then, of course, the industrialized defense complex, all right? All of them not only profit from war with Russia, but it helps them take the eye off of their failures. So especially the corporate media, especially the European Union, especially the deep state in Washington, they would rather have us at war with Russia than talking about President Trump's successes. And the European Union would rather have us at war with Russia than talking about their failures. Wages are down in Europe. People are struggling just to put food on the table in Europe. So they do what they always do. They engage in fear. And I'm telling you, these warnings now, the Guardian coming out and saying, war with Russia within the next 5 years. Not a chance. Not as long as President Trump is at the helm. Though he is losing patience with Vladimir Putin, I do not believe President Trump will allow us to go to war with Russia. We're going to talk about the details of all of this. Who started a lot of this talk? There's a deep stater from England, worked as a senior advisor to the foreign ministry. He's out there pushing this. I'm going to play a clip from you, and I'm going to debunk him as well. They want war because it benefits them and not us who are succeeding right now. All right, before we get into that and before we start the show, you know what I love? I love my friends over at Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. I've got a Patriot Mobile phone. So easy to switch. It just takes minutes. You pick which network you want to be on of the big three networks. So you don't have to worry about coverage nationwide. You get the same coverage you'd get with anybody else, and you choose which network. That's part of the performance guarantee. Then, of course, 100% U.S.-based customer service. Again, with these SIM cards, switching takes just minutes. You can upgrade your phone. You can keep your phone. You get a new phone. Patriot Mobile will help you with all of those things, and it's super simple. Now, here's the best part about Patriot Mobile. They believe in the same things we believe in. So every time you spend money on your cell phone bill going to the big three cell phone companies, you're helping push a woke agenda. Stop. I've been telling you this now for years. Stop. Cancel your service and go with Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code Grant for a free month service. You're not going to regret it. I promise you, only good things happen with Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. Tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right. The war hawks are at it. The deep state is at it. The corporate media is at it. The European Union and the architects of so many of our wars globally are at it. They want the United States at war with Russia so they can cover for their own failures. Failures by the deep state here in the United States that are now being exposed on a daily basis by President Trump. And, of course, failures in Europe. Failures at every level. You look at England and France and even Italy, Germany. They are failing. And with that failure, they do what they always do. They resort to fear. They resort to warmongering to take your eye off the ball. And what better enemy than Vladimir Putin? Now, this idea of a fight between Ukraine and Russia, you know where I stand on that. I believe they're two corrupt nations. In my mind, I'm at the point, just let them fight it out. Not my problem anymore. And it is true that Europe can't be buying oil from Russia as long as Russia's fighting a war with Ukraine. You're funding the war plan. Now, do I think Russia is going into Poland or Germany? Not a chance in hell. There's no way Vladimir Putin would do that. And again, Vladimir Putin just said this week, I am not your enemy to the United States, to Europe. I'm your friend. I'm not even your adversary. That's a direct quote from Putin. Not that you believe everything Putin says. Because, look, he tells Trump one thing and then he goes and does another as far as launching missiles into Ukraine. But it doesn't benefit anybody from President Trump to Vladimir Putin to go have war with each other's nations. That's not going to benefit the United States. It only benefits the bad actors who want the worst things for America and want to profit off the demise and chaos of America and the military involvement of America. So it is true that Russia continues to wage cyber attacks against us here. But do you think the United States is not waging cyber attacks against Russia? I'm sure we are. This has been going on for decades. This is why I don't agree with Vladimir Putin when he says we're not even adversaries. We are most certainly adversaries. What we want for a global peace is very different, Vladimir Putin and the United States. How we get to a capitalistic style global economy is very different from what Vladimir Putin wants to what President Trump wants. So they're adversaries. But this idea of cyber attacks has been going on forever. You can't use that as the catalyst to go to war with Russia. Now, people are suffering in Europe. Leaders in Europe know that. So they make a boogeyman out of Russia. Oh, no, he's going to invade our country. Let's go to war so you take the people's eyes off of what's really going on in their country. Look at what they did. They sanctioned Hungary. Now, Hungary has proven itself to be an unbelievably free capitalistic society that prides itself on freedom. And Hungary said, you know what? We're not funding Ukraine. Europe was so bad they issued sanctions against Hungary because Hungary wouldn't chalk up money for Ukraine. That's the kind of arm twisting against sovereign nations that I don't like from Europe. So the elites can't stand it in Europe, that Europe's failing. The people are suffering. The economy is faltering. You got all of these problems. So what do? They clamp down on free speech. We see that in England. It's crazy the clamp down on free speech they're having there. So they clamp down on free speech. They amp up and ramp up the war rhetoric. And then they crank up the fear and push the war. And that's what we're seeing. March out this former foreign ministry insider in England, sounding the alarm, everybody.
I think we are already at war with Russia, and I agree with her. And I like to tell the story. I was at a big security conference in 2017 in Halifax in Canada with Pavlo Klimkin when he was the foreign minister of Ukraine. And in one particular press conference, my foreign minister, who I was working for at the time, told the world that we were not in a new Cold War, which was a term people were throwing around, that we were already in a hot war. And you know, the key to this is understanding Russian hybrid warfare, or sometimes called gray zone warfare, which suddenly we're starting to hear a lot more about. But I've been studying this since 2016, before I went to Ukraine. And the thing about it is, it's not top secret. It's all out there in open source if we want to actually take the time to research it. It's all the different ways, including assassinations and attempted assassinations, but much more importantly, cyber attacks, but also how they fund both far-right and far-left groups within our country to sow dissent and to weaken our societies.
So what he does or doesn't do is give examples. So give me the examples. Now we know Russia going to assassinate its own, quote, reformers. We see examples of that. But tell me where Russia went into Europe or the United States and killed one of our political leaders. I mean, give me an example of that. Lay it out for me, but he doesn't do that. And then he comes up with they're ramping up the cyber war. Well, Russia has been waging cyber attacks against the United States and Europe for as long as I can remember, going as far back as we've had cyber, okay? Now, we are doing the same thing against them. It's what adversaries do to each other, to test the systems, to make sure we're ready if something were to happen. But notice this guy, he's got a Ukraine flag in the background. So he's got a Ukraine flag in the background, and you know he's pushing this. He already told you he worked for one of these defense agencies or companies. He's telling you he wants war because this is all about profit, fear-mongering, taking the focus off of his deep state insiders still in government.
And Russia has been at this at least since 2014. They unveiled the Gerasimov Doctrine with the illegal annexation of Crimea. But in truth, they've been at it for a lot longer. And, you know, I was talking to the deputy ambassador of Ukraine in London only 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me the latest figures that the Kremlin has spent last year on disinformation alone is $1.4 billion.
Where have we heard disinformation before? Disinformation. Russia is sowing disinformation. Oh, be so scared. Americans are smart enough to figure out what's real and what isn't. And remember, this was the big catalyst to the Russian collusion hoax. They're doing it now in England again, and The Guardian ran with this. You're seeing American media outlets running with this guy's assessment that we're going to be at war with Russia within the next 5 years because they're sowing disinformation. You don't think we sow disinformation inside Russia? Of course we do. It's all part of the giant game that we play with each other. So I'm going to tell you, folks, back off the war ledge with Russia. We're not going to war with Russia anytime soon. There's no way President Trump lets it happen. There's no way Vladimir Putin lets it happen. Europe is pressing us to go that direction. That would be a huge mistake for Europe. You don't want to bring China and North Korea into this mix. That I promise you. You think Ukraine's going to help us? No. All right. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a war on American values next, being waged by the NFL. Bad Bunny, that's who they pick for their halftime show. Give me a freaking break, folks. Give me a break. Hey, listen, get20now.com. Up to 20% on your money. You invest with NFN8. They start mining Bitcoin on your behalf using equipment that you lease back to them. Okay, this is a brilliant move because you get a tax benefit from this as well. It's not complicated, but it is an amazing investment. I made a sizable investment with them. I locked into interest rate. You can too, up to 20%, depending on the deal, locked in. This annualized interest rate is paid out monthly, okay? And so every month, like clockwork, on the same day, I just got mine last week, you're paid that interest. You sit back. You get paid whether you sleep or not. Now, this is about technology, and it's about sound leadership. NFN8 is building data mining centers, crypto mining centers across the country where you can buy the electricity the cheapest, and then they've got the technology to cool the computer systems in a way that doesn't take much electricity as well. That, in turn, allows them to mine the crypto at a rate far cheaper than anybody else. You take part in the crypto craze, but you don't have the risk. Get20now.com, get20now.com. Low risk, great rate of return, locked in. That's the key, 20%. My Lord, it's awesome. I love these guys. NFN8. Go fill out the form on the website, get20now.com, get20now.com. My buddy Corey will call you back. He's a principal in the company. He'll lay this out for you, and you're going to have a hard time figuring out a reason not to do it. Get20now.com. That's get20now.com. All right. Bad Bunny. You know who this is? He sings this song. Now, once again, it looks demonic, okay? You got the red and the smoke and then the bunny with the eye, like from a horror movie. And this is going to be the halftime show at the Super Bowl this year. At this year's Super Bowl, this coming up Super Bowl. Bad Bunny, he hates America. He's Puerto Rican, yet somehow he thinks he's an immigrant, but he's not. He's from Puerto Rico. said he'll never perform in the United States again because he hates America so much. I'll play that clip for you here in a minute. But this is who the NFL chooses? Ugats, NFL. What do you want from us? Like, I just get back to watching my teams again after all the kneeling for the national anthem, the George Floyd, the stupid race messages on your helmets. You subjected me to the transgender flags. I just get back to watching NFL. I just want a football game. And you choose the most anti-American guy to sing at the national anthem. What is your problem? Nothing but the demonic anti-American creature. That's what he is. He's a creature. And he's a creature that's bad for America, it's bad for business, and it's a slap in the face to Make America Great Again conservatives. And when I say Make America Great Again conservatives, I'm going to lump in everybody that just loves this country. This guy has spoken about ICE agents in a way that is completely inappropriate. Listen to this.
Performing in the U.S. again. I'm scared that ICE might raid the venue outside my show. And honestly, I can't risk the safety of my fans like that. Mainland America just doesn't feel necessary to me anymore.
So if you're not going to perform in America anymore, what are you doing accepting the invitation to sing at the Super Bowl? I mean, you said you're not going to sing there. Nice agents aren't showing up at concerts, rustling everybody and checking identities. Come on. He knows that. This is all playing into the fear-mongering that we see across this country, mainly by the mainstream media and Democratic leadership. So I'll play more of him. And again, the NFL, Roger Goodell, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. This is not representative of the country. It's not wholesome family singing either, but not that made a difference based on your past halftime shows, which basically look like a strip joint someplace. But can't we just get back to the idea of having an entertainer that can relate to everybody? Country music for a change?
I've already performed there plenty of times. Fans in the U.S. have had lots of chances to see me live. That being said, I still care deeply about my Latino and Puerto Rican fans living in the States. Seeing me perform in Puerto Rico is always an option. That's why in my upcoming world tour, there are no stops in the continental U.S. This isn't about hate. It's about responsibility and respect.
You know what? You show no respect. Who do you think is the driver of your wealth, Bad Bunny? It's Americans. Americans are the ones that are buying your records and going to your concerts and buying your merch. Americans. And you're ungrateful. You're ungrateful to this country. You're a Puerto Rican, which makes you American. Now, you may not actually be a citizen of America. You don't have a state to call home. But you're American. You don't need a passport to come here from Puerto Rico. And you spit on this country. And that's who the NFL chooses. So think about that. When I look at what the NFL has done over the years, and I got a list here of all the things the NFL has done over the years. You've got kneeling for the national anthem. All right. We know that Trump said, hey, these players ought to be fired who kneels for the national anthem. Jerry Jones wasn't really very tolerant of it. Thank you, Jerry, for that. You're not all that great at running a football team, except that, I'll give you. All these social justice messages on the helmets that made us sick to our stomachs, okay? You had high-profile players all garnering media attentions, targeting conservatives. Somehow, this white hate that was coming out of the NFL was too much for most of us to take, and that's really what it was. You have all of the halftime entertainment shows, which not one has really been family values, wholesome, or even remotely considered to be neutral. Everything after the George Floyd craziness made us all sick to our stomachs. So, yeah, we're mad about this. And then this Bad Bunny character goes on and talks about the time when he got asked to be in the Super Bowl. Oh, this is so fun. And this radio station, wherever he is, just playing in him, just so happy for him. Do they not realize who the audience is for the National Football League? Just look in the stands and see who the audience is. I was watching the Packers-Cowboys game last night. Bunch of cheeseheads in Dallas screaming and yelling. They're not Bad Bunny fans. I'm going to tell you that much.
Yeah, does Jay-Z have to say, even though he knows you already know, when he calls you, does he have to say, needless to say, keep this between us for the time
No,
being?
for sure.
Yeah.
He has to say it no matter what. I always, when I work with people that I know that they respect I said it no matter what, just in case you don't know. So yeah, it's part of the work.
When Usher got the call, he told the world that Jay-Z just said it's time. Do you remember sort of what Jay-Z said to you without betraying any trust when you got the call? Because it's such a special call to get.
It's crazy because I was in the middle of a workout.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's such a special call to get performing at the halftime show. May I remind you, this jerk said he was never going to play in the United States again. He was afraid that ICE agents were going to show up at his concert. So why are we continuing to watch the NFL? I know many of you get mad at me because I watch the NFL. I love my Dallas Cowboys, even though, I'm still having to watch my Super Bowl highlights on VHS tape, but I still love my Dallas Cowboys. And I don't want people to take that away from me. Just like NBA basketball. I love my Dallas Mavericks. I'm a sports fan. So it's really all I got. Now, you could say go to college. College has been ruined, I think, college sports with this, name and likeness deals with the millions of dollars now being paid to athletes. You're basically watching the same thing all over again. But I love it. And I love watching football with my son. He's a Browns fan. I'm a Browns fan, too. I like the Browns. That's my AFC team. We watch the Browns together. It's a chance for us to bond. It's a chance for us to yell at the TV together. But, boy, they make it difficult. So when I go buy my son a Cleveland Browns hat, or I buy myself a Dallas Cowboys T-shirt because I want to wear it on Sunday when they're playing, I cringe spending money on this. They don't deserve my money. So I know you say boycott. It works in some respects, but it's a really tall order to boycott something that everybody, I guess, doesn't feel so strongly about that they're willing to give up. Right? Boycotts rarely work. It certainly worked with Bud Light. But that was easy. A lot of other options for light beer. There's not a lot of other options for professional football. And that's why I think the boycotts on professional sports don't often work. People will tell you they're boycotting. I know. How many of you out there say you don't watch the NFL, but actually watch? I know you'll comment in the Rumble chat. No, Grant, you don't, I don't watch. You don't know what you're talking about. I promise you there are those that are not commenting that know exactly what I'm talking about. So the boycotts are hard. But you would think that the NFL would come to the realization of who their audience is. And they didn't here, which makes me steaming mad about it. Bad Bunny is an awful, let's just say it. Bad Bunny is an awful choice for this. Honestly. Not family values, demonic, anti-American. Everything the National Football League is supposed to not represent, but sadly it's everything the National Football League seems to represent these days. Football's a conservative sport too, by the way. I mean, that's mano-y-mano. The strongest, the fastest, the smartest will win every time. The most well-trained. You put the best on the field. There's no diversity, equity, and inclusion. You don't get to play because you're white or get to play because you're black. You get to play because you're good. That's how business should work. It's how the NFL works on the field, yet they want to denounce conservatism and free markets. All the while they're engaging in just about every conservative value there is. Right? I mean, in the end, the team that works the hardest, trains the best, is going to win. And they're not just going to be nice and put the veteran on the field because he's been there a long time. No, if the rookie's better, they're putting the rookie in. So the National Football League needs to get with the program. Will it? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder.